You're in California, right?
Hello, Georgina. This is Alka from Global Women Power. And I'm very happy to welcome you on our platform.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Right. Welcome. And so I will briefly introduce our organization and what we do. And Global Women Power, as the name says, it is for women empowerment. But our focus is mainly on financial independence.
Okay.
We are not going in the domestic front of anybody's life, but then that does make an impact on
an impact. Yes, agreed.
Right. So here is Nancy joining us.
Hi, Nancy.
Hello there. Gorgeous. She already said beautiful, so I call you gorgeous. Hey, Georgina.
Thank you. You're filling my ego. I'm loving it. Thank you.
So, Georgina, we started a special program called Sheroes, in which we are interviewing women, those who already excelled. So, to be honest about it, I'm the one who is getting most impressed than anybody else, because every person is a live book. And the way they have done it, that is such an exemplary situations they have been through, and they never gave up. And yeah, so I just flow with when somebody talks about what they did, what they are doing, and it increases my interest in people. And I definitely feel that sex doesn't show up in that conversation, whether you're a female or a male, because it is a being who is just doing it.
Totally agree with that.
Yes. So from here onwards, I just pass it on to you. Please share with us, what you had been doing now and how it started.
Okay, great. Well, firstly, I want to say there's two things. Firstly, I want to say thank you for having me. It's an honor. And secondly, again, another thank you for creating this forum, because, women need, well, I shouldn't even just say women. We need more women role models, whether you're a man or woman, just to see what women are capable of, what women are doing. And a lot of times women don't want to come forward. And so they're doing really great work, but somehow it's in the background. So the fact that you've created this forum to allow the world to see what women can do and have been doing and are capable of, I really want to commend. So I just thought I wanted to start with that. So thank you, Alka.
Thank you for appreciation. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll start with, kind of, as you said, with where I am now, and then go back. So I am the CEO of Business and People Development Associates. It's a company that supports business executives to achieve their vision of success for their organizations, as well as working with career professionals, both men and women entrepreneurs, to tap into and live their passion so that they can accelerate their careers and their lives journeys, in order by desire and design rather than by default. Because a lot of times people, if you look around the world, everyone's kind of existing. A lot of people just exist. And they've either been socialized or been led to believe that this is just what life can be. But I really believe that, we're all been given a gift. We're all here for a reason. And my company works with individuals so they can understand what that is, tap into that natural passion that they were born with, and put that passion to work so they don't have to work, and they can live their version of freedom. And I say their version of freedom and their passion, because you can live someone else's version of what their passion is. So really it's about understanding what your passion is and what your version of freedom is. And so we support organizations to do that, either through consulting or entrepreneurial or leadership coaching. Right? And so how do we get there? So I currently live in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm originally from London, South London girl. And I'm the oldest of four. And my mother is from Trinidad and Tobago. My father's from Sierra Leone, West Africa. And they met in the UK. Now, when we were really young, my parents, I realized they gave us a gift. They told us that we could be anything we wanted in this world. The only limitation was in our minds. And there's 3 girls and 1 boy in my family. So we were told so young that we wouldn't contest it or challenge it. You tell a child young enough, you put it into their DNA, right? And so they told us that we could be anything. And so we, 4 of us, have grown up knowing that. Now, they said the only limitation was in your mind. So there is a limitation, but it's of your own making. We still have to work for what we want. It doesn't mean it just falls in your lap. But once you set your mind to it, you can achieve it. So we all grew up that, and we just assumed that everyone else knew that you could be anything you want in this world. The only limitation is in your mind.
Right.
And so I decided at 16 that I wanted to be an accountant. I wasn't good at maths, but that didn't matter. I wanted to be an accountant, and you don't actually have to be good at maths. You just have to be not scared of numbers. And so at 16, I went to a school fair, a career fair, and I got chatting with one of the persons there, and she talked about accountancy. And there were like 3 or 4 reasons why I liked the idea of going into that profession. One was the fact not being good at maths, and it was okay. 2, being that an accountant can work for any industry, in any country, any organization. So there was great flexibility and freedom. Freedom is a big thing for me. Also, the boom or bust, accountants would still be needed. And the last one, that was not many women were in accountancy then. And I always like to do things differently. So,
and how old were you when you were so wise?
16.
Age for boyfriends, and you were thinking about bookkeeping and accounting.
Yeah, my parents didn't believe in boyfriends at that age, so books were, that's where I had to focus.
Okay.
So I followed through that and decided I wanted to be an accountant, and it really was a decision, and I use the word intentionally, because we were told you could be anything. It was a decision. It wasn't a wish or a whim. It was a decision.
Wow.
I remember being with a friend. We went to, in the UK years ago, they've changed it now. All the ACCA, the Association of Certified Chartered Accountants, all had to do their exams in London in a place called Alexandra Palace. So everybody had to do their exams. Like there are 3,000 or 4,000 desks in this place, right? So just finding your desk was enough, to prove that you could even be, that you knew what you were doing. And one year, that particular place had a concert. And I was with a friend, and I was 16, and I said, one day I'm going to be in there, right? And I did my first exam at age 22. So it was 5 years before I was saying I'm going to be in there. So I went to university, came out, and then started to work for The Economist newspaper. Most people say it's a magazine, but we call it the newspaper. And while there, I studied and became a qualified accountant. And I decided after qualifying to then move on. At that time, I was about 25 then, so we're talking about 27 years ago. Most people at that age were kind of settled in the roles that they were in, just getting married, having children, both men and women. And so the next level up, they weren't going anywhere. So I realized, that if I wanted to progress, which is what I did, that I'd have to leave, even though it was a really amazing company to work for. So I then started to look for a new position. I had a very impressive CV. I'd been promoted several times in the company. And so I started to get interviews. What happened though, there was two main interviews I can think of where there was blatant racism, and I was unfamiliar with it. It was not something, it's not a lens that I looked through, and so it's not something that I even looked for. until my head was pushed against it. So one interview, the guy was interviewing was doodling all over my CV and just being extremely obnoxious. And then the second interview that I went to, the guy who was interviewing me said, you know, I shouldn't tell you this now, but you're into the second round. You know, you've got all the qualifications you need. You know, I like your personality. And he said, I want you to meet my managing director. The managing director came in and virtually jumped out of his skin. Now, my name is Georgina Terry, which when you hear the name Georgina Terry, I might not be what you're expecting to see. Because a lot of times when I go to interviews, I'd come out and look around and say, Georgina Terry, go back in, come back out, Georgina Terry. So he came out, you can see that he was visibly displeased. And he started to interview me and was very rude to his own colleague when his colleague said, I've already asked her those questions. And he said, well, I want to hear for myself. The next day, the agency called me and they said, unfortunately, you're unable to go through to the next round because you're too young. Now, my age is on my CV. And I remember that day being really, really upset. And I was thinking to myself, one, it's not fair. Two, the thing you don't like about me is the thing I cannot change. And I don't want to change it.
Thank you.
And I remember being really distraught for the first time in my life, really, because I hadn't really come up across that. Like I said, it was not something I even looked for. And I remember being really upset and thinking, now, what do I do? What do I do? And I'd say, you know, at least for a couple of months, I was really down. And then eventually one day I said to myself, no, I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to meet someone who sees me, just sees me and what I bring. And I just said, I'm going to keep moving until I find that person. So then I eventually got a job with French Connection, the retail clothing company. I stayed there for about a year and a half. And then I started want to look for another position. But I thought it took me about 6 months to find that position. I thought it would take me quite a while. So I thought, well, I'll start now. Because in those days, you didn't jump around from job to job, right? I'd been with The Economist then about 5 years, and then this was a year and a half. So the agency sent me an interview for an organization, which is now PwC, one of the top accountancy firms. Then it was called Coopers and Lybrand. And I said, okay, I'll go for the interview. And then when I really looked at the job description, I thought, I can do more than this, but I'll go anyway as practice, right? You never know. Never underestimate where God's going to send you. So I went to the interview and I was sitting there and talking to the guy who was interviewing me, and we had, have a really good rapport. And then he said to me, you can do more than this, can't you? And I said, yes. And he said, so what can you do? And he turned the paper over on the blank part and we started to write stuff down. And then he picked up and said, do you want this job? And I said, you just made that up. He said, yeah, I know. He said, but do you want this job? And guess what I said? I said, can I think about it? It's only years later, I realized, what were you thinking? Because I thought, well, he just made it up. And I said to him, are you sure there's enough work in that job? I was young. So I went away, did the pros and cons. And he said to me, only take this job if you really want it. He said, if you don't want it, don't take it. I don't want to recruit you. And then in a few months' time, he said, if you don't want it, then I won't recruit for it. But only take it if you want it. So he was really a really gracious person and was willing to give me the time to think about it, even though he just created it for me. And I decided, yes, I would take the job after I worked out the pros and cons of everything. And that's one of the best decisions I made, because his name is Ian Scott. And Ian was the person I said I would meet one day who saw me. He saw me, all of me. And that was just an amazing day. So we worked together. He was my boss at PwC, or Coopers, for like 6 years. Amazing man. He said he saw in me that I could be his number 2 at my interview. He said, I can see it. He could see it. He said, but you're going to have to prove to others that you can be it. Because remember, I was still quite young then. I was about 20, 28 or something. But he saw that. He saw that, and we worked together for 6 years. And by the time I left the firm, that's what I was. I was his number 2. I was the financial controller. And he would work with me over time. And I remember getting my first appraisal from him, and he said, how do you think I've done? And I said, well, I think I've done average, because I didn't do this, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do this. And he said, that's what you think? I said, yeah. He goes, well, I've given you outstanding, which is the highest you can get. He said, because even though you didn't do this, you did this. He said, but now you've set your own bar, right? Your bar is now higher. And he was just, we still have, even though we stopped working together now over 20 years, we're still in contact with each other. Such an amazing person. And, on our journey, we really do meet people who are our angels to support us through this, sometimes what could be dark in life. So worked with him and the team, and really enabled myself to grow and get, experience in all different areas. And then when the firm was joining with PW, I was involved in a lot of the merger talks at my level, merging our 2 departments. And so I then started to meet a lot of consultants. And I used to think, I don't really understand what they do. But it looks quite different and varied, and like projects. So I thought, I want to be a consultant. I want to be an accountant with consulting skills. That way I can be more marketable. I like being sort of different. And so I decided to look for a job in consulting. Decided not to stay with the firm then. And I eventually went for an interview for a small boutique consultancy company. And as God would have it, because I've realized over the years, it's not me. I used to think it was me. But I realize now it was not me. I got the job. Now, previous to that, I had been married and divorced, and you start to wonder about yourself then, and and I'd gone for a promotion and I didn't get it, and you really start to doubt yourself, and you really have to look for ways to pick yourself up, and to keep going, because I do believe we can have all that life has for us, but we firstly have to believe it, and then we have to be willing to go after it and reach for it, So, just to say that there were setbacks. There were setbacks in my life, like, I said that getting divorced, not getting a promotion, and feeling knocked down, not feeling confident in myself, but always hanging on to think that if I really want it, I can have it. That kind of guiding light. And before moving to the new company, the consultancy company, I had taken gone on a holiday by myself. I was feeling completely stressed and just needed to be away from everyone and everything. And I never knew why people went on holiday by themselves. And I realized why. You just want to be invisible. Or at least that was why I wanted to go. And so I started to go on holiday by myself. And you meet more people actually when you're on your own. Because people want to talk to you because you're by yourself. And I went to Antigua for a week. And I remember being at the airport on my way home and saying, did I have a good time? Yes, I did. But what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And I was 31 then. I thought I was really old. What do I want to do with my life, or at least what's the next goal? What's the next? I always had goals, And I said, I want to own my own property. I'd like to live abroad, perhaps in Trinidad, because my mom's from there and I could live there legally. And I wanted to stay on the career ladder. I didn't want to go backpacking and become a waitress, not saying anything wrong with that, but I was on the career ladder and I wanted to continue. I didn't want to have to come off and then find my way back. So I wrote these down on a piece of paper. I was trying to work out which order they should be in. And I couldn't work out what order. So I said, look, Georgina, just write them down. A year and a half later, I was visiting my mom and I found the paper and all three things had been achieved. I'd bought a property and was now working in Trinidad. And I'd stayed on the career ladder. I say that to say that when we have a clear vision of what we want, because I didn't even realize I'd actively been working on those things. I'd forgotten I'd written them down and they had come to pass. So our job first is to have a vision of what we want, even if we have no idea how, but really tapping into what is it you truly want. And when I'm working with clients, that's the question I'll ask them. What do you want? And that sometimes brings people to tears. So then I worked for this company. I came to Trinidad for 2 weeks. I am here 20 years later. This year makes 20 years. And so I worked with them for 6 years. And then 14 years ago, I started business and people development. Was fine. I thought it took me a long time to move into the entrepreneurial world. And the only reason I did it, I wasn't ready to go back to London. And I decided to stay here. And I thought, well, I couldn't find a job that I really liked. So I said, well, let me start my own business. If it doesn't work, I can fall back on accountancy. I'm an accountant. And so that's 14 years ago. But during that time, it's been like this. And down to the ground and through the ground and back up, because as entrepreneurship is. And in 2008, when we had the crash in 2008, 2009, business went completely flat, no clients, nothing. To the point I was having problems paying my mortgage. When you keep getting those calls and you don't want to answer those calls. And I remember one day just sitting by the window and just crying uncontrollably and wondering what I was going to do. I had visions of seeing myself being homeless, and then I had to say, you're not going to be homeless. You can, your mum will send you a ticket and you can fly back to London. Stop being silly, but when you get to that state, and then I started thinking about, if I lost everything, if I lost my home, what would that mean?
Ground zero.
Yeah. And then I started to look at my life and then say, it's going to be so embarrassing. And I was like, why would it be embarrassing? And then I started saying, well, people around you, what would they think? The people who really care about me, they're going to say, Gina, don't worry. And I realized it was my own ego, my own shame, not about anyone else. And then I started to analyze that a bit more. And then slowly I started to see, it was so amazing. I started to see my life and times when things had been tough in the past and how they'd slowly turned around. And for the first time in my life, I saw God at work. I thought it always been me. And all of a sudden I just saw, it was like I could see him just coming in and fixing everything over all those years. And firstly, I had to, beg forgiveness because I thought it was Georgina Terry, all about me, and realized then, well, if God had looked after me in all those years, why would that be different now? And at that point, I was able to fully surrender to him and say, God, if you don't want me to have this house, you don't want me to be in this relationship, you don't want me to have anything, it's okay, because that's your will. And if you're going to take this away, it means you have greater for me. But I did have to say to God, that's not what I wanted. I had to let him know that, right? He had to know what I wanted.
Preach it, sister.
And it gave me such an amazing sense of peace, knowing that I was no longer in control. And there was a point where I then just started to see God's miracles, And the mortgage company called and said they needed me to pay $4,000 by the £4,000 equivalent by the Friday. This was the Monday. And I said to God, I said to the person, okay. They said, okay. I said, yeah, I can pay that. And I was driving and I said to God, I hope you heard that, God. You need to find some money by Friday because I haven't got it. And you need to find it legally, right? And my heart did not skip a beat. The Thursday I went to a meeting and I was given a check for $4,000 or thereabouts.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, God, thank you. You know, and that's sort of slowly now started being my journey about really being open and listening and trusting God in where I go with work. And, you know, like even being comfortable to be on a call like this and share that. Whereas before I used to think the two things had to be separate. But I realize now they are one. They really are one. And so now the business through God got back on track by me surrendering and allowing him to take over. I will say that along the journey, I did forget and, thought it was about me again. And I had to then be reminded that it was him. So I'm glad to say I'm back in the passenger seat, and really allowing myself to be guided and working hard to be obedient. I'm not that obedient. So really working and praying for obedience, and allowing God to lead the path. And he is doing that and allowing me to do that with my clients too. So I find now that when I'm coaching, most conversations end up being around how God is serving in their lives and stuff like that, even though I could be talking to a CEO of an organization, and allowing it to come to the service and have that conversation, and realizing that he ultimately is the source and we are the vessels with which his work is done through. So yeah, things are really good. I enjoy the business. I enjoy helping organizations to achieve their visions. I enjoy helping career professionals achieve their career success and women entrepreneurs to start businesses. But all in a place now that I know it's not about me. It's about me being service and allowing, God's guidance to come through.
Amazing.
So, I see that if you keep on walking, so this is a natural transition. I have seen with almost everybody, when you are talking, I'm relating to that. So always I feel that rough times are the times when we learn the most expensive lessons. Right?
Yes, I think it's a way of giving us a pause.
That's the only time when you have to be there and just go through it. Right? And that's the only time when people give up.
Yes, it is a choice. It's like I feel like we are being tested by life. How much do you want what you say you want? How much are you willing to not so much give up, to go behind it, even if it looks like nothing is there? Now, if you think like when a bamboo, underground bamboo doesn't, and then eventually just shoots up. It's a bit like that. We see nothing. We have to hold the vision. We have to believe in ourselves. And I heard one of your interviews, I forget the lady with the security company, I was listening to her, and she was about that belief in herself. And I know it's hard, so I'm not going to pretend that it's an easy thing. And
her name's Janelle.
Janelle, that's it, yes. I know especially when people don't have people around them that are supportive and are going through things we could never imagine. So I don't want to make light of that. But the one thing we have control over is this. And if we can hold on to this, anything and everything is possible. Because that's one thing people cannot take from you.
Exactly. That is your strength.
Yes.
Cannot be stolen, cannot be taken away. So when we start our journey, we start with the idea of helping ourselves, then we start with the idea of helping others, then we just want to do it for satisfaction. And now you have said it right, now we are at a point when we are doing it as service, you know.
Yes.
For me also, I do whatever task I do in which I help people. I just feel like job done, job done, job done. Not like it is my good karma, it will come back to me. There's nothing, no strings attached to it.
Yes. Yes.
So I just say,
Totally.
okay, yeah, yes, keep doing. And then, you know, I have also deputed the same guy you are working for. I'm working also for him. I just say, too, you take care of all the finances and every other thing. And then tell me what I'm supposed to do. I will do that.
Yes. Yeah. And he does.
He does. We are all doing our job. That is his job, to keep the things together. So anyhow,
Exactly.
I really relate to your the way you progressed. And you know, that's why I say the live book, because the real example, it's raw. It's not made up, because you're talking in a flow. You're going through every emotion you experienced.
Definitely. Definitely.
Right. So coming back to, you know, our title of, you know, like helping women get empowered.
Yes.
And that. So in a woman's life, you know, how much do you think that a woman needs a man's assistance to keep growing? This is the first time I'm asking this question to any person, because we sometimes feel half when we don't have the other or the better half with us. So,
that's a good question. I don't think we need it. I think it can be, what is great is to have support. So it's like having, you know, is it the cake or is it the icing? We are the cake, and the support from a male, you know, partner or husband is the icing. You can eat cake without the icing, but the icing can enhance.
Yeah.
As long as it's not too sweet.
Because, you know, so many times in anybody's progress or growth, you know, they just always keep putting it on. Let me talk to my husband. I'll come back to you. I have to see if he gets convinced, right?
Yeah. And I think, you know, that's a great point, you know, you're raising that. And I hear that a lot too. This might be a bit controversial. I believe women, we are born with our power. We're all born with it. But for a whole number of reasons, we give it away.
That's true.
And I totally believe there's gender disparity, there's gender violence. You know, there are some really horrible things going on in this world. But one of the things I believe, if women were to truly understand the power that we have, we could do so much knowing that we have it and put the power to work. But we are socialized to believe that we do not have that power. And unfortunately, we too as women buy into that. And I really see that, you know, to me, the essence of women economic empowerment is first knowing that you have your own power. And that if you do not have it, you have given it away. And I'm using the words intentionally. You have given it away, not it has been taken from you. If you realize you gave it away, you can go and take it back. But if you say somebody took it from you, then you feel you have to go and fight them for it. And don't get me wrong. For some people, that's going to be a really hard journey to go on. But if the first thing you realize that I gave my power away, why did I give it away? Maybe not sure. But if you understand you gave it away, then you say, well, how do I get that back? And again, you don't have to go to the person and say, can I have that back, please? You have to say, I now claim it back.
Exactly.
And guess what? It will just come back to you like a magnet.
Beautiful.
Wow.
You made it so simple, unbelievable. Exactly. You have to claim it. It's not like you have to go and fight with somebody that give me my power back. And maybe that's the part you're doing in people development, right?
Yes. And the funny thing is, years ago, I never really worked in the women's space because I could not identify with that, the whole not having the power. And I used to, if I'm honest, I used to be quite dismissive. And more, I found myself doing projects, working with women, entrepreneurs, and I kept being pulled in that direction. And I had to start analyzing why. Because I've never been a traditional woman myself. I've worked predominantly with men all my career. I hold my own. And I couldn't understand why I kept being put in these circles. And then eventually I started to realize why. Because I hold a different opinion, a different perspective, rather than being dismissive of women who held a different perspective than me, I had to respect where they are. And by respecting where they are, I can share my perspective. And therefore, they can see different perspectives, maybe ones they've never seen before. And so then I started to realize this is the space I'm supposed to be in, or at least one of the spaces I'm supposed to be in, to be able to have those conversations with them. So we've lost Alka.
Hello?
Yeah, so we've lost Alka, Nancy.
Well, I guess I'll take over till she comes back. I'm in tears.
Oh.
Because I'm thinking about all the things that I've given away, all my powers. And it's not that people are out there to take your powers away from you. It's just the negative input, the inspiration that they give, and that negativism eats it up. We give them away to destruction. So
the thing is, once we're aware of it, it's never too late to claim it back.
So do you actually talk to yourself and say, give it back? Or is it just the attitude of, I'm just going to claim it back?
I think it's a mixture of things. It's firstly recognizing that you don't even have it. So it's first recognizing that first. And then realizing first, if you stay on that trajectory that you're on, without your power, where will you end up? And do you want that? Or do you want a different outcome?
So it's one thing to get the power back, but then it's another thing to hold on to it.
Exactly.
Oh, and also, now that I have it back, I'm not used to having that power back.
And it will take a while
to adjust.
It will take a while to adjust, as anything. And the thing is, that's also, we have to give ourselves some grace in that, and forgive ourselves, like, oh my God, I gave my power away. I shouldn't have given. No, don't worry about it. That was then. You didn't know that then. It's okay.
Well, I used to think that success for me was the outcome, the outcome that I thought was favorable. Oh yeah, I succeeded. This is what I wanted to happen. But success, now that I realize, not just from sitting with you, but later on in life, I realized success is not the favorable outcome that you might see, but it's the fact that you've done something, you've done it with your heart. You can't measure quality with results sometimes. It's just, some people they don't want quality. They just want, like, they go out, just get the cheapest service. Well, you can get your money's worth. That's all you're going to get.
Yeah. And it's being comfortable with, it's also being comfortable with allowing people to make their own choices, but not attach their thinking to you. If they've decided they want that, they want something cheaper, or they don't believe they want to pay your services, then okay, that's their choice. I'll keep going until I find somebody who sees me and wants what I have.
And then there's a challenge, like you said, with your interviews. Then there's the challenge of, is this person reliable that I should collaborate with, or maybe, yeah, there's good actors out there. So
there is. So I always say to people, you know, and I've been in situations before where I've got into things that, you know, because I'm very passionate and, you know, want to get going, and I'm, you know, pretty fast paced, and I've got in situations like, this is not good. So I say, you know, the phrase I use is, you know, date the person. So in a business context, do a small project with them. Don't do anything big. Do something tiny, and you will see how you gel. You will see if you have the same values. If you're something small and it works, you can go something bigger. So date them first. Don't get married straight away. You know?
Do you have any testimonies of people that you have coached? I don't need names, just scenarios of before they consulted with you and after.
Yes. So there's one that jumps to my mind straight away. When she came to, I also run a mastermind for women entrepreneurs, a group of women entrepreneurs. And this particular client, she came into the mastermind, her husband had just died, and died maybe a year before, and had left her, well, she inherited the business. And she was a shell. It was, you know, when we saw, you know, you would cry with her. We would cry with her, you know. And she was doing her best to keep his business alive, because that's what she would say. This is his business. I have to do to keep this alive. And she was a school teacher, and she was really trying to teach and run his business. And she joined the mastermind, really a shell of herself, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to run a business. And over the time we worked together, you slowly saw her confidence build. You slowly saw her start, you know, meeting with different business people. And it got to a place where she recreated the business, and it's now hers. She started a new arm of the business, started home decor. She just started to blossom as a person. She gave up her job and went full time in the business. And now she'd claimed the business as her own. She'd claimed that he had started it, but now it was her role to take the business and do what she wanted with it. She's now appears on TV, on a particular morning show. And so the business now has got several different arms. She's doing her own products. She has completely transformed herself. It's been amazing to watch her unfold.
I have a question for you. I'm sure you're proud of where you've gone and look forward to the future. But if God were to give you a blank white canvas and a paintbrush and your choice of paints, what would you choose for colors, textures, and strokes?
Ooh.
You're illustrating your reality. Because what we do today does affect the future. A lot of people focus on the past and they hold the garbage in, all the negative experiences, then they can't do it. And then they only rely on the future. The future can change. But what we do now has an effect on our future.
So do you mean literally what colors, or do you mean what would I do?
Answer it literally, and then you can explain it symbolically. Okay. I guess it's a vision I had in the past.
Okay.
Theophany, shall I say? When I do my contemplation, my faith, and it came.
I was going to say that I would start with a white sheet of paper, but then I'm going to change it and say I would start with a black piece of paper.
Well, you could paint it black.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I only said white because then every color shows except white. But if you do black, every color shows except black because it's already there.
Yeah. So it would be a black piece of paper. And rather than maybe, and then I would put, I think I'd cut, maybe get some stones and create a path, like stick stones and create a path on the paper.
What color would the stones be?
I'm seeing like a coral kind of colors with white and gray, all kind of mixed together.
Okay.
And stick those on the paper to create and it'll be like a windy kind of path. And the path would end at the top of the paper, so you didn't know where it was going.
Oh, wow. Oh, I love it. I love mystery.
So
what about on the sides of the path? Would it be vegetation or what would it be?
I'm seeing water. It's funny, I'm seeing blue. So I'd have to stick, as it's a black piece of paper, I'd have to get some blue material. Stick the blue material on, like a light blue, maybe with something with, but it's not plain. It's got like a slightly embossed, you know, like sewing stitches on it to give it some ridges. And that would be along the side. And as I'm talking, before it was quite wide, now I just saw it come in a little bit. So there's water, like a thin stream of water on either sides of the path.
Wow.
And then now, so before it was all blue, but now when you talk about vegetation, I can now see there'll be like grass on the other side, but not completely manicured, but not overgrown. Just a nice length. And the grass would be like each blade would be a different color of green, but together it all meshes together.
Wow.
And I think you'd see a couple of footprints in the stones. So more than one, so it's not one person by themselves. Yeah, there'd be footprints in the stones. So you've seen that several people have traveled that path.
That would be a true masterpiece, huh?
That's a nice question. Yeah, that's a lovely question. Thank you for that. I can actually see it.
So I've also learned part of success is not to see myself as I see myself, but get some feedback from outside. Sometimes the feedback I'm not loquacious. I don't talk a lot. I don't this and that. One of the hardest things for people to adapt to is to accept the fact that they need to adapt. Yes. I'm just curious, how do you get over that uncomfortable feeling of, I need to adapt, but I'm comfortable where I'm at?
In the past, I'd be very defensive. I used to be very defensive in the past.
Just like me.
But I've come more times than not. So I'm not going to say I'm an angel and, nothing upsets me. But more times than not, I will sit and reflect and do my best to see what they're seeing. I may not agree with it, but at least do my best to see what they're seeing. And see how best, and see if I need to make a change. Yeah.
Very scientific. Yeah. Very scientifically put. I grew up with an old biblical text verse. It seems right. There's a way that seems right unto man, but then thereof are the way to death. That doesn't mean, you're going to burn in hell. For me, heaven and hell is now. When I die, I'm more aware of it. But if a path is comfortable, it doesn't mean it's always good for us.
Exactly.
And if we stay there, even if we stay where we're at and not try to progress further, then we're going to go rancid and lukewarm. So.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree with that. And I always like to keep moving, you know, but I like to keep moving. You know, so, like I said, I would, it's a good question.
We can't do it on our own. That's why we need each other.
No, exactly. You do need that feedback. I
We
have
need
a
the
very
creator, we need the support, we need knowledge.
yes.
My people perish for lack of knowledge, another ancient biblical verse. And it doesn't mean be religious, but it means to have the knowledge, the know-how. I'm brought in this world. What's the first thing I'm supposed to do? Find out where I'm at, and you know.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, society has suffered. Do something religiously, enforce it religiously. The only guilt that we should have is not for mistakes that we made, but for not making better decisions. What you've done, you've done. You've messed up, you've sinned, whatever you've done, but get on with life. Learn from their mistakes. Some people don't want to. They want to keep staying, holding on to their garbage. It's like you're going to go take you have a flight. You're going to take a flight and you take a suitcase and you fill it up. Are you going to fill it up with old torn up clothes, or are you going to put something nice in it? Before you put any nice clothes in, you got to throw out the garbage. So this is also true with being successful with business. And it's a fight every day that I'm going through. And with myself as well. But to hearing your history, your story, it's very encouraging.
Oh, thank you.
Very encouraging.
You know, it's been a journey, and I think, you know, I in the past would be stuck in my ways, and I've learned when I look back and see how by being stuck in my ways, how I've caused myself harm as well as other people. And I've looked back over some things I've done and said and realized, you know, I wasn't as nice as I thought I was. And that was a bit of a pill to swallow. But I saw it, and I'm really doing my best to change those behaviors. You know, and I think the thing is, we can recognize, and sometimes I understand why people want to hold on to the past, because, you know, I use this analogy, like, you know, let's say you're on a burning ship, right?
Yeah.
And someone says jump, but all you can see around you is black water. You think you'll stay on the ship, you don't know what's below you. So if you're able to paint a picture of what is possible if you let go of some of the old stuff,
right?
You have to give them something to replace it with. If you just leave it empty, they'll fill it back with the old. So it's really about, well, what else can there be? What else can you put in that suitcase? What else, if it's full, what can't you put in? Oh, well, I can't put this in. Well, do you want that? Yes, I really want that. Okay, so what needs to come out? And now that you're seeing that I can have this, but I need to get rid of that, then you will start to make room. But when you can only see what's in the suitcase and nothing more, you prefer to hold on to that than the unknown of it.
Yeah, like going for a very hot trip, hot weather, and you're packing all kinds of sweaters and winter coats, and once you get there, you're going to regret packing what you packed.
But I think it's that person's journey, though. If they pack and they've got just hot clothes and they've got sweaters and stuff, well, then sometimes they need to learn. So rather than you fighting them in the suitcase, let them pack their own stuff. They'll
what
realize
you reap is what you sow, right?
Yeah, so, but it's more so the fact that each of us will learn in a different way. And so maybe that person has to take the hot clothes to realize for themselves that's not appropriate.
Now, somebody wise would take maybe a little of this and a little of that, because there could be climate change. So be prepared to adapt. You never know. It could be a hot weather, but then there could be a cold wind coming. You never know.
Exactly.
So this is exactly why I'm involved with the Global Women Power, because there's a lot of women who, like me in the past, now everyone has their own challenges and tragedies or whatever it might be, you call them tragedies, but a lot of people don't know that it's a matter of emptying the suitcase. We have to empty it, and then we fill it with, some people don't know what to fill it with.
Exactly.
And so that's why That's why we empower women. If they don't have skills, we provide them skills training. We help them with job placement. And a lot of these women don't have confidence in themselves.
Yes, I
So
agree.
we have a branch in India. We have a branch in Nigeria, and our headquarters here in California in Fremont. So we have this goal to reach out to women, because we're not against men. We're not anti-male.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we even have men involved in organizations, and we help men too. So how do we look for, we invite people to join our network of professionals, and you don't have to be a professional to be in the network, but something that they can do, so that our support for these women is not just the organization by itself, but to divide it amongst the populace of our network. Because everyone has their own unique beauty, their own unique painting that they do.
Yes.
So, and because of our differences, we blend in well.
Yeah, I'd love to see how I can support the organization.
We'll be in touch with you. What time is it?
8 past.
It's just about that time. So is there anything else that you wanted to share, or a message you have for our viewers? This is recorded, and people don't have time to see it now. They'll see it later.
I think the one, well, there's 2 things. One, if people are interested, we have a business tip on our website, which is a free tip. So it gives, giving people additional information and stuff. It's a weekly tip. If you go on our website, which is BPD, business, B for business, P for people, D for development, associates, ASSOCIATES.com. If you wait for the pop-up, there's a pop-up on the screen, and it'll be get access to free business tips on careers, on business, on personal development. So that's, our gift to you. And then in terms of a message, there's 2 really. One, remember you were born with your power.
Yeah.
And if you feel that if you feel powerless, then start to claim it back, but you claim it back from internal, not external.
Right.
And then the other one is, remember that the only limitation in your life is in your mind. And once you can start working with this, you can have all that you truly desire. And you have the power to have that. Nobody has more than anyone else. We all have that.
Very good. Melissa Rosas recommended you from Apex Design.
Okay.
So she had told me to contact you. So I don't know if you partner up or what, or is she just one of your acquaintances? So,
acquaintance, yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I was wondering how you found out about me.
Yeah. So
Wonderful.
I also thank her.
Oh,
and I thank you, and we will stay in touch. And you're in London right now, right?
No, I'm in Trinidad and Tobago.
You're Trinidad. Wow.
Yes,
I've been here sometime.
20 years now. Yes, it's lovely.
Okay.
When our borders get open, our borders been closed since April.
Is the COVID high there, or is it low?
It's low. We've had about 120 something deaths, so it's not nice for the people who've lost lives, but on this whole scheme of globally, we've had about 120, just under 130 people who've died, and active cases are in the couple of thousands, I think. But because we're an island, the government closed our borders since April, so our borders are actually closed. Because we only have a population of 1.3 million. So it's not really much we could take if we got a huge outbreak.
Yeah.
So we were on lockdown for quite a long time. We are now, out and about, still social distancing, wearing masks, but our stores are open, the malls are open. But children haven't gone back to school though. Children have not been in school since March.
All that has to change really fast.
Yes.
We need normalcy fast.
Yeah. Well, what is that now? What is that now?
True. Normalcy is defined by the majority. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a lot of homework to do. I have a lot of claiming of my powers back, claiming from
Good.
within. We're born with powers, but everything is because of the Creator. So it's all His. But He gave us our whatever powers there are to not to abuse, but to help each other, basically.
Exactly. And we're all born with the same power. No one was given more than anyone else.
Right. Georgina, it was a blessing having you with us.
Oh, thank you, Nancy.
I really thank you from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom and the top of my heart.
I feel it. I feel it.
I feel it.
Thank you so
call
much,
you
Nancy.
sister.
Thank you. That's really lovely.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care. Be safe.
Be healthy. Okay.
All right.
Stay well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.